Okay, so the podcast's going quite well. I think it's funny, but how can we get it to more people?
Some attack ads against Rishi Sunak?
Lame. Anything else?
Okay, this might be controversial, but I've got some ideas.
Yes.
Human sacrifice.
Oh, Jesus. Again with the human sacrifice.
No, listen, an eldritch tribute to the old gods. All we need is to get a Queen of the May.
Where do we get a May Queen from?
Hello, chaps.
Doctor!
Time Ram.
Hello, listener. How are you? Weary, exhausted, just like the rest of us. That's life in the 21st century. We're going to take you out of it for a short time in this episode of Time Ram, where we're going back to the fine year 19... Well, which year are we going back to? Is it 1984? No. 1986, maybe? Let's see. With me, as ever, I have Mr. Barry Williams.
Good evening.
And Mr. Paul Ferry.
Hello.
And our special guest today has come directly to us dressed as the master. It's Adam Manning.
I am the master, and you will obey me.
And you know what? We will.
Yes,
So,
we will.
and how are you tonight, Adam?
I'm super splendid, thank you.
Excellent.
I've had a
excellent.
wonderful bank holiday weekend. I have been playing the Doctor Who role-playing game.
Have you?
Ooh.
So I've had a bit of a Doctor Who day, and I don't see any reason not to have a Doctor Who evening as well. Thank you.
Power has gone to your head. And tonight we're doing, extraordinarily enough, the formerly Peter Davison story, The Awakening,
Yes.
with Colin Baker. So what do we think about that? What's first impressions here?
I was trying hard to imagine different casting and things because you're basically within a few years, aren't you?
About a year later,
But
yeah.
I think there are things in the character definitely that you would change, but casting and that I was having difficulty with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll have to go wild with it.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things that are sort of fundamental to the format of the show, because, of course, this was when it was still 25 minutes. And
Yeah.
then if you go to Colin Baker's, you're talking about 45-minute episode.
Yeah.
So there's a whole different kind of dynamic because of that. And also, I think in more terms of the kind of the involvement of the show and what it was like in 1984 compared to what it was like in sort of 86, 85, 86, 87 in the period of the Sixth Doctor. And there's quite a difference when you watch them.
Yeah.
There's quite an interesting difference in the way that it's produced.
Yeah.
And the role of the Doctor as well, I think, is interesting.
It is going to be
Yeah.
the biggest change, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, it can certainly start, obviously, it's a two-parter, which if you're doing it in the Colin Baker era, they didn't, it translates into a single-parter. But
Well, no,
I've
hang on. All this talk of 45 minutes what about the Trial of the Time Lord, which was 25-minute episodes in the Colin Baker era?
well, there's that possibility as well. Can you let me
They
finish?
did.
Yeah.
And that's much
But
easier for us.
that's where they realised the 45-minute, which was supposed to be the most distinctive thing about the Colin Baker era, wasn't a good idea. So it's almost as if saying that actually isn't what we're doing. That's not really the Colin Baker era.
Well, what I was going to say is that apparently, if you look at the production history, it was written and conceived as a four-parter.
Yeah.
Which explains there's quite a lot of plot in it, actually. There's quite a lot happens. It goes very quickly. And it's because it was a four-parter that Eric Sayward decided wasn't working. And he chucked
This
the
rings a
script
bell,
out,
yeah.
did a page one rewrite,
Down.
and crammed it all into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to expand it out a bit, that option is definitely there.
But I don't.
I have to agree. I think The Awakening works so well in what we've got at the moment.
Yeah, indeed.
Which we can talk about a bit later on. I have to say, I watched The Awakening, and then to be an absolute masochist, I exposed myself to Time Lash. afterwards.
Hell.
And that really frames this whole conversation for me.
Expose him to the time lash.
Exactly. What a weekend I've had.
It has got Paul Darrow, though. I mean, come on.
It's Easter, you've got crucifixion, and then you've got watching Time Lash. So, when it comes to expanding, The Awakening works so well. It's almost like bonsai Doctor Who. It's so perfect in itself.
It really is good, isn't it? Yeah. I've always liked it. Watching it again today, I was just going, this is really good. This is a really good one.
Yeah.
That people don't talk about as being one of the really good ones. Because there's no earth-shattering events in it. It's quite small scale.
Yeah.
It's a fairly small cast.
Yeah.
Speaking cast anyway. But yeah, it was, I thought it was top-notch.
I felt like the supporting cast didn't get developed much. The characters didn't get a huge amount of development because it just rattles along and then it stops.
It's a plot-driven story rather than character-driven. I mean, that's absolutely true. The only two who really have any character are Lord Madface and the Liver Bird, which was a great band, by the way, from the 1980s. Check them out, Lord Madface and the Liver Bird. But yeah,
got my iPod. Yeah, iPod. Who has iPods?
I think one thing I would say about casting, to pick up Paul's point, is that when we're talking about Colin Baker is so over the top in the way that he approaches the role. He's so larger than life. He's got to the point where he is stereotyping what the Doctor should be like in many ways. Bless him. So he's very much a larger than life presence. And that really overwhelms the screen. So I think you have to have somebody who plays up to that. And of course, in the original, we've got wonderful Dennis Lill, who is a fabulous actor, who is so good in that role. And you can, and he seems to really love what he's doing. It's if I am a man and I'm doing this role and I am handsome and I am sexy and I am full of life and I'm a great masculine character and I love this.
And look at my hair.
Yeah, exactly.
So Martin Clavick.
Yeah, so the Dennis Lill is doing a great job. But I do wonder if you've got Colin Baker as the Doctor, perhaps you need somebody who's even more. So I did wonder whether you would go as far as Peter Wingard in that role. If you've got Colin Baker as the Doctor.
I was sure you were going to say Blessed.
I thought you were going to say Paul Darrow. I thought you'd go down the Paul Darrow route.
Well, no, that's another option. That's a very apt option as well.
Actually,
obviously.
Darrow or Wingard, I could go either way on that one.
We have cast Wingard in the past, I think.
Have we cast Darrow yet?
I'm not sure. We may have done. Probably have.
Yeah, was he not in exactly the same story as Wingard? Were they not both?
Yes, they were both in Mission to the Unknown. That's right. Yeah.
Oh well, that was ages ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
yeah. It was John Pertwee era. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the Pertwee era, of course.
Yeah.
You don't think Darrow might be a little too arch in the role, and not kind of the full? I'm really a 45-year-old accountant who's cosplaying as Mr. Specs from the 15th century. Darrow might not give the full kind of that flavor, I don't think. Whereas Wingard, he might not do exactly that, but he'd do something in that realm.
Yeah, I can see Wingard playing it like he is in A Touch of Brimstone, the Avengers episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's the Hellfire Club guy. Yeah. I can see him playing it in that.
I'm down with Wingard as long as he can keep the tash.
Oh yeah, and beard probably.
Yeah.
Okay, Wingard, cool.
All right.
Actually, you're saying season 23, Roop. If we go with that, can I add a caveat to that? Can we have it with Perry rather than Mel?
Yes, Christ,
I don't think I can stomach Mel at the moment.
Yes.
Oh, you're not putting it at the end of the season. It's not the season climax. Oh, okay.
No.
Right.
And anyway, we don't know what the other stories in this season are. It might go on. It might get Dalek Master Plan.
Well, that's it. It's
so
probably end up being longer.
Whatever the hell, however long the seasons of Time Ram are, you're not bound by such earthly whatnots.
Ian Levine there going, they're only giving us 30 episodes.
That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
So we open with some horses, some cavaliers riding horses. and they're sort of riding threateningly up to this lady who is dressed in modern dress. So immediately we know that there's some kind of time shenanigans.
Juxtaposition.
Yeah, time juxtaposition. Yeah. And these guys are a bit aggressive, and she's not at all impressed with it. Her name is Miss Hampson, played, of course, in the original by the lovely Polly James from the Live Birds.
Mm-hmm.
And she's brilliant.
Who's
It's one of the
really
rare
good.
occasions when GNT's guest casting policy really works, because she's not playing it, as one of the Live Birds. She's really giving it a good performance.
Did any of you chaps know of her association with the Live Birds? Because I didn't. As far as I'm concerned, she was just an actress.
I did.
I didn't at the time.
Yeah.
She was one of those faces I recognised, but if you said I couldn't place where I'd seen her, for example.
Yeah.
We were all that slightly bit too young, apart from Paul.
Yeah.
Well, I did, although from when I remember the Live Birds, it was Elizabeth Estenson had taken over.
So, Helen Mirren, anyone?
Not now. I'm busy.
Have we just? Was she not just in the last? Not the last episode. No, she was in the last episode, wasn't
She
she?
was in the last
Every
33
single
episodes.
Yeah,
Have you not worked out the running gag yet, Paul?
in a significant role. I mean,
Yeah, she normally gets to play the horse, doesn't she?
Well, I mean, there's Helen Mirren, or we could save her for the Malice, or possibly for the Silver Cavalier.
I can do that.
What do you think? Neris Hughes.
It's not going to be Neris. It's going to be it's that couple of years later. JNT's gone a bit more bonkers.
Yeah.
So it's probably the woman who played Drop Bags.
God, I don't even know what her name was.
No, Carol something.
Debbie McGee.
Debbie McGee.
Pauline
Yeah,
Quirk.
her name goes to the Doctor Who theme. Debbie McGee. Content.
That's what he does. That's how he changes the theme music for that.
There you go.
episode.
There you go.
He just thinks it's a night during the week. What are we going to do to get the punters in?
Debbie McGee.
What gag can we do? It's 1986. We're
She's
desperate.
dressed in her spangly costume like she usually was on the Paul Daniels Magic Show. And I just can't see her as being dressed any other way. Certainly not in 1986.
I think she's Debbie McGee as Debbie McGee,
Right.
and they're doing a Paul Daniels is in the area doing a show, and she just happens to be there.
Right.
Wow.
So there'll be a Paul Daniels cameo at some point. And he'll be there at the very end going, now that's magic. Vanquish
Yeah.
the Malice. So we've
Yes.
just done the ending there. Excellent.
The Malice will be Paul Daniels.
Ah. Oh, I don't want to see naked Paul Daniels grabbing to the bottom of the console. All kind of tiny and shriveled. I mean, that bit may be accurate anyway, but yes.
You're not GNT though.
Sorry, I'm just traumatized by the Paul Daniels. Okay, cool. Debbie McGee playing in a meta way. Debbie McGee from television's Debbie McGee show with Paul Daniels in it.
Yeah. Okay.
There we are. This is getting better all the time.
Getting something. Yeah. Okay.
And we're laughing, but in 1987 we got Ken Dodd, so let's not laugh.
Was she an act? No, she was a dancer, wasn't she? Before she was a magician's assistant, I think.
Would that stop him?
Oh no, that would just encourage him. That would just drive him onwards.
Say we're now on 2 bottles of whiskey a night. I don't know why I'm fucking bothering. Just cast Debbie McGee. And Helen Mirren's playing the Malice. What is wrong with the producer? Etc.
What is actually going on here? Because I'm confused. Are you confused?
Pretty confused.
Proper confused.
So she confronts Sir George Hutchinson,
Peter Wingard.
who is conducting war games in the village. The village of, is it Little Hogcombe or something like that? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Little Hogcombe.
No, well.
And he's bit into it, and he's got a couple of other people with him. There's a Colonel Ben Wolsey, who's a bit calmer,
Yeah.
and there's the Sergeant Willow, who is just a nut job.
Bonkers. Just bonkers.
Yeah.
And gets off so lightly at the end.
Really does. Yeah.
You know, just kind of go, oh, well, no recriminations, and shake hands, and
Off he goes.
you know,
Yeah.
Debbie McGee says, me neither. And what? He was threatening to burn you as the possible May Queen. Anyone who threatened to burn me as a May Queen, I'm not shaking hands with them afterwards.
Yeah. It's hard to get past that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the 80s. You know, these things happened.
Don't question the canon.
People went down.
Adam Manning defends the 80s.
Yes. I plead the 80s, my lad. It was acceptable in the 80s, as we like to say in my parish.
Case closed. Tegan is attempting to visit her grandpa.
Yeah.
But it's not Tegan, it's
Perry.
Perry. Obviously, as an English grandfather.
Is she decided to visit Howard?
Why was
Howard
he
is
Howard?
not dead.
He's not dead, is he?
Well, he wasn't killed, was he?
I don't think he was. No.
Was he? I can't remember.
No, because the one that was killed was Chameleon that turned into the Master and then got
Oh
killed.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was just last seen fucking off on a boat, wasn't he?
Yeah, that doesn't mean death.
No. Unless you're on the river Styx.
That usually means harbour.
It's not a metaphor. No.
No, or is it?
Howard sailing across the river Styx there. So, bye.
Bye.
Not that way.
I'll send the boat back.
Because obviously Howard would live in Little Hodcombe.
Yeah.
He seems the type.
Does he? Does he though?
No.
Yes, Howard is a city gent who commutes to Little Hodcombe every day, and he's the absolute perfect 80s yuppie.
He's the 80s yuppie. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting off on his motorboat or whatever and dumping poor old Perry. He's. I think I see him as very much a kind of Gordon Gekko style character.
Isn't he supposed to be?
He lives in
American?
Little Hodcombe to get the full British experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's
They'll
kind
go
of no
hard
more unlikely than Tegan's Australian grandfather living in a little English
Indeed.
village, really, is it?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Gordon Gekko moves to Little Hodcombe. I mean, that is the sequel we were denied.
And finds Debbie McGee and Peter Wingard. Result.
Yeah,
And then shortly a massive fierce is going to come through the wall. Like, they're all going to go, Divin? You've not me what?
This village in the northeast, is it? Little
It is, yes.
Little Hodcombe on Tyne.
Little Hodcombe.
Little Hodcombe on time. Absolutely. Hold hard, Baz.
Okay. All right, moving on. The TARDIS arrives. The Doctor's not very good at steering his TARDIS. It arrives in this crypt as it's kind of collapsing.
very conveniently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have to run out. And it should be 1986, but they see a man in sort of medieval type clothes.
Hey, you know what? Just I thought it's a little village in 1986 where potentially he picks up Mel. What if they're actually in Peace Pottage? And there's kind of like occasionally the Doctor will see Mel kind of in the distance going, "Hey, what's that over there?" Just go, "Right, come on, Perry, over here, away from over there. Don't look in that direction," and just constantly avoiding the millage.
Men avoidage, right?
Mm.
And that's the whole structure.
That's
of it.
that's what drives the Doctor all the way through. This
That's it. So it's
whole
a
sense
farce,
of Mel contentment.
basically. Yeah. He spends the whole
No
thing trying to
reasons.
avoid Mel or keeping Perry from seeing Mel, and then his trousers fall down. Basically, this is what we're.
So you say Perry and Mel meet and your trousers fall down.
So that's what happens in farce.
And that's when Paul Daniels turns up and goes, "Now that's magic." And then like he Waspers comes through the wall, like.
And then his trousers fall down. Right.
Can I just say this medieval guy they keep seeing?
Hmm.
He's kind of unnecessarily grim, isn't he? There's really no reason for him to have a kind of gammy eye and
Yeah, but on the bright side, his
naked
trousers do
face.
stay
You know?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he's about.
Yes.
I don't know
No,
why
it doesn't-
he is like that. Is he meant to be a plague victim or something?
I don't know.
No, I
It's
don't know.
Because all it
very
would take was be one
strange.
line. from
Yeah.
The doctor kind
Yeah.
of going, "Oh yeah, that was the effect of such and such a plague in such and such a year,"
Yeah.
thereby tying that person to that year and being a thing, a plot point.
So just that medieval times were shit. So kind of just saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not actually disfigurement. Maybe it's just caked in shit.
It kind of looks like something that might have had some more greater significance to the plot when it was a four-parter, and there's
Yeah.
kind of
Mm.
they've just got he's been down on the script as kind of plague victim or something, so they've just kept him as a plague victim.
But he's got
Yeah.
to nick Perry's bag because he's
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And that motivates the action there. Perry's
and he can
bag,
run
he's
really
there.
fast,
Even though he's got the plague.
or a plague victim. Yeah,
Well, maybe he runs really, really fast and it's kind of like splattered insect, on the windscreen when you go down the motorway.
Oh, so he's just constantly going. "Ugh, ugh,
Yeah,
ugh."
but he hasn't got windscreen wipers on his face, has he? Of course he hasn't. He's in the Middle Ages. So, yeah,
Well, this
or
is
not.
making
I mean,
sense.
I'm down either way. It's all good.
How about Time Ram?
Time Ram? You couldn't do it in that old crock.
Woof. Time Ram. Londoners.
So far, so logical. So they come up in the church there, and there's a big old crack in the wall.
yeah.
Doctor doesn't do well with cracks, as we know.
No.
So they leave the church and then immediately get accosted by these cavaliers.
Oh, does fandom go, "Hey, this is a callback to Polly's crack from that classic Second Doctor story that introduced the Sontarans and everything else"?
Mm-hmm. Polly's crack. That's what we're calling it from now.
Yeah, Polly's crack. Well, it was Amy's crack, but it can't be Amy's crack in the 60s, can it? It was Polly's crack. We know that. So Polly's crack. You whack face coming out of Polly's crack.
Which is TV's Paul Daniels.
You like it, but not a lot.
Baz, you can do the cultural references. Hey!
Hey, it was on the BBC. That's all right.
Correct channel.
The only channel.
I think Paul Daniels' face at that scale would be even more terrifying.
Yeah, it would.
With the plastering cracking
Yeah.
away, falling
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
His maniacal smile.
Polly's crack falling away around it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Picture the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I may Photoshop the scene later. We'll see how it goes.
Anyway, they get picked up by these cavaliers who tell them no one can enter or leave the village. So they're basically taken under guard to see Ben, Colonel Ben, who's he's a bit nicer. He says it's just a bit of fun. Is anyone in particular playing Colonel Ben?
Michael Craze. So actually being Ben older.
Hey, that's Polly's crack, that is.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Maybe that's why he's there. He's in disguise, investigating Polly's crack, as usual.
How would he get on a horse? He'd need a stepladder.
He's got a stepladder.
He was only tiny.
Yeah, he's an able seaman.
Right.
He's able to get on a horse. It's fine.
So you just shimmy up a rope to get on the horse.
Be poorly, maybe.
He carries a stepladder
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
On the back of the horse.
No, wait a minute. It's the vestigial last gasp of his superpowers that he got from
Right.
eating Susan's ring.
Mm-hmm.
It's Susan's ring that allows him to get on the horse to investigate Polly's crack.
He leaps on the back of the horse with a sort of sound like the Bionic Man.
Yeah. So it's almost textual. Because this is, an anniversary that JNT's decided to promote.
The 22nd anniversary, that one.
22nd
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
All
going
right.
increasingly eccentric.
That's a we.
Sorry, I just want to clear something up here for a second. Going back to,
Go for it.
are we doing this in the 45-minute episode format? Are we having two 45-minute episodes for this new edition of the
I don't
Awakening?
believe so.
No,
I think
I think-
this is the next season, so this 25 minutes ago.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to be
That's
clear.
why we keep
Yeah, that's
glimpsing
fine.
Nell from a distance, kind of, over the hill.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's not enough for to expand it into a 45-minute two-parter.
Mm.
There'd be a lot of
Yeah.
Mel standing around in the distance.
Maybe it could be Mel who steals Perry's bag.
Maybe it's Mel who's got the plague.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so when Will says Mal has come, he actually means Mel has come.
It's just his accent, you see. Is so
Yeah, Middle Ages. Yeah.
This is where RCD got his ideas from for season-long plot lines. He went, yes.
Yeah, in the Moffat video, this would be the entire season arc. We're condensing it into one story that already is quite full of plot. That's
Full of
the
what?
beauty of
Full of
time.
what?
Plot.
All right.
What do you think I said?
I was just thinking of other things it could be full of.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
So in the original version, Ben tells them that Tegan's grandfather, so I guess in this case, Howard, was disappeared. So this is where it gets a bit more difficult because at this point Tegan runs off and Turlo follows her because they do have separate plot lines.
But then again, it's Turlo who never really does anything productive in any of the stories. So you can just basically lose everything that Turlo does.
Yes, he gets trapped in a room simply to get out, spend some time getting out of it. Doesn't
Yeah.
And then he eventually meets Tegan's granddad.
He does meet Tegan's
Yeah.
granddad, which is
All right. Actually, you know who it could
not
be?
relevant. Mel.
See, it
Yeah.
could be some bloke. Just some bloke.
No, make it Mel, for the love of God.
Yes.
So Polly James' character, if this is Ben, our Ben, superpowers Ben Jackson,
Yeah.
shouldn't she just be Polly then?
Ah,
Hmm.
could be. This is JNT going full on anniversary. Just bring back loads
It's
of
either
people.
her or Debbie McGee.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually,
it does
yeah.
make more sense than Debbie
Yes.
McGee, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be more fun than Debbie McGee.
That makes a lot of sense, though. Polly being in a little sleepy little village.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
All
See,
right,
actually-
should we make these Ben and Polly, and we'll keep Debbie McGee for the Malice.
Okay.
Is she actually with Ben, or is he just like stalking her and following her wherever she moves in the country?
I think we have
In
to
a
assume
really
that they
disturbing
kind
manner.
of,
I think they'd be in this
Yeah.
era. They'd be together happily, wouldn't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
Yes.
I think they are, but they are on other sides of this whole cosplay,
Yeah.
costuming,
Aha,
costume.
yeah,
It's
nice.
normal people kind of and that adds a lot of tension. You see,
Yeah, it does seem like
they are lovers, but they have this serious
they're
issue.
Fighters as well.
Yeah.
And that'd be lovely as well, because they've both got their different ways of relating to the Doctor. They'd both, of course, be kind of going, "Oh yeah, you've changed again. We saw that the first time round because we rock." So they wouldn't be that phased by it. They'd be phased by him.
Yeah.
Probably be going, dig your fab gear and shit.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You are listening to the Time Ram podcast. Enjoy and keep time ramming.
So it occurs to me, we've had the 18-month hiatus, and JNT has come back in. Well, he's come back in after 18 months, and he's said, right, we need to pull the punters in. And Eric Say was there going, I've got this idea for a trial season. He's got, no, let's bring back Ben and Polly from the mostly missing season 4. People will come in droves to see that.
Because bear in mind, we still haven't decided whether the Trial of a Time Lord we're going to do as one 14-part story, or as the broken up stories spread, therefore, presumably across all the Doctors. Just keep putting them on trial. Right, well, we'll come back to
I'm so glad I don't have that problem.
It'd be terrible if we rolled that tonight. Yeah, that'd be.
That's like one of those really horrible things you hear happening around the world. You think, I'm just glad I'm not part of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, chaps. But anyway, do you know what? The thing with The Awakening, when I watched it, and this takes me to the crack on the wall to some extent, which is, you think the crack on the wall, we've seen that in the new series. And then that starts you thinking, and you think, this is really very much like the new series in the classic era. It is very much like a new series story because it's nicely self-contained. There's a bit of character interaction, a bit of character background and so forth. The Doctor really solves the whole problem using the power of the TARDIS. It's one of those rare stories where the Doctor basically just thinks, do you know what? I'm just going to go in the TARDIS. I'm going to press some buttons on my console, do some magic using that, and that's going to take out the villain's power completely. And he solves it all that way. And Peter Davison, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks this, the Fifth Doctor is, or rather, let's put it another way, the 11th Doctor is so much like the Fifth Doctor. When you watch the Fifth Doctor again, you think, right, because I always think of the 11th Doctor as a sort of play on the Second Doctor in some ways. But when you watch this, you think how much like the Fifth Doctor. And I don't think Matt Smith ever went out and actually watched Peter Davison as the Doctor at all. It's just one of those things. But Peter Davison's very much got that kind of youthful energy, optimism, coupled with a certain capricious whimsy and eccentricity to him once in a while as well, just to take the edge off. So it's when I watched it, I thought, this is just like the new series, and when you put the 2 episodes together, you pretty much get the same length of an episode of the new series. So I think it's the nearest that the classic series ever seems to get to a new series sort of style story.
Structurally, it certainly is, and in plot-wise, it is very tight and it's not crammed.
No,
it's actually just right for its length. But you don't get any of those usual longers of running down corridors and running up the corridors. And there actually aren't any corridors in this, are there?
There is a corridor. There's a fucking massive corridor underneath the church that goes all the way to.
That's a passage. That's a passage.
Completely different. My mistake.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but it's not as if they're running up and down it in proper,
No, they're not indeed.
They should be on segways, really.
So that's another really fascinating thing about The Awakening. But I think if you take The Awakening and then you do it in 1986, it totally loses all of that. It completely. If we're verging then into sort of time lash territory, you have got endless corridors and people meandering around them randomly and pointlessly, and you've got endless monologues essentially by the Doctor berating the other characters, which is what the Doctor seems to spend a lot of his time pointlessly and entirely unpleasantly and irritatingly and totally unattractively just berating people and shouting at them.
In all fairness, Pertwee does little else.
Yeah.
Pertwee does it with a certain panache, though, doesn't he? He does it,
Yeah.
you know, because that's the character that he is playing. He's like that because he cares, and he's a father figure, and he's paternalistic, and he's all that, and and you can dislike him for it and so forth. But there's that kind of fundamental attraction about him doing that in the role, whereas none of that really works for the Sixth Doctor. He's just a madman in a ridiculous suit talking nonsense.
See, I like that about. I like the Sixth Doctor. I like that about him because the Doctor is a madman in a ridiculous suit. The entire series is completely bonkers. I liked and still do like that. They went there. I don't like the costume. The costume really took it too far. It's like they said about Capaldi in his first season. Moffat said afterwards, I wrote him to be quite spiky and aggressive, and then Peter Capaldi did it, and it just added so much more spiky and aggression than was planned. Same with that Cole, if you take his costume down a bit for a start, he makes less of a dominating impact. Straight away, and let's make an executive decision that for this season they've taken away the costume. They've gone, no, that was really silly.
No, I can see that. I mean, you've got that Shakespearean idea of clothes maketh the man, and of course, when you've got Colin Baker in that ridiculous suit, it is telling you immediately that I am a pointlessly tasteless person. So it then infers into everything that he does that he is pointlessly tasteless.
Indeed, yeah.
So you have no interest or pleasure from anything that he does, particularly. Just what I mean.
Well, you know what? I'm going to contest that as well, because to me, I read it as I'm willful as hell. I'm going to dress like this because no one likes it because I'm willful. At which point it isn't sort of pointless in the same way. I'm not sure that's going anywhere, but you know what I mean? Just things on the same thing, really.
You can do that. You can be willfully unattractive and willfully assertive and robust and hostile in your demeanour, but it doesn't mean that anybody has to actually like you either. You know what I mean?
Well, I liked him.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think Colin Baker would be very open of his disapproval of the war games. He'd be very war isn't a game.
I was just going to do a gag there. Yeah, it's a couple of episodes too long.
No.
It took me a moment to go, what? Yeah.
No, the war games within the story. I think he'd be. Davison doesn't really pass an opinion on the fact that they're having a war game. He doesn't really say anything about it. But I think Colin would. He'd be very I don't agree with this. You shouldn't be doing this.
He'd lay his cards on the table very early and far too early, really. He does that.
Yeah, you're right. But the Fifth Doctor, a lot of the time, doesn't really actually get involved in that sort of level of the plot. He's just there. It's almost as if he's trying to survive a lot of the time.
I was going to say he's very passive in those early scenes, isn't he? But I wasn't sure if passive was the right word, because he's taking it in. He's just not passing comment. And that's not being passive. That's making a decision to kind of, all right, let's just let the madman talk.
Well, yeah, he's not being proactive. I mean, it's entirely Tegan's decision to be there, and he's like, all right, fine, whatever, and then in this place with a crack, he's like, oh, okay,
But as soon as he meets Ben and Polly, he's going to be all energized, isn't he? Because they're going to be telling him things.
Well, it's not Peter Davison, is it? It's Colin Baker, so he's going to be massively energized from the start.
Yeah, well, true. But at least we're in the ninth season where they haven't started arguing all the time. They've told Perry are actually friends now.
Perry's run off. He's upset because Howard has disappeared.
Right, yeah.
And then the Doctor is kind of kept at gunpoint by Sergeant Willow. And Polly's there, isn't she? Polly's there with him.
Polly's there,
They'll be kind of catching up. Yeah.
And
then Sir George comes in and he explains what's going on. That the Little Hogham was the site of a Civil War battle in which quite a lot of people got killed. And
there's a glass of red wine in his hand, being Wingard, of course.
And they decided to reenact this tremendous historic event. Let's reenact this massacre.
It will be terribly, terribly jolly.
So that's when the Doctor runs off. He kind of he escapes. So this is what I mean. The plot kind of turns around quite quickly. So we've got some scenes with Perry seeing a ghostly figure.
Isn't it randomly the randomly terrifying very old man?
It might be.
Who appears as a torso first, and then a head. That freaked me out when I was younger.
That's very oddly directed, though, isn't it? You get this shot of his old man tits.
Yeah.
lit up, and then you get a shot of his face lit up, and you think, why
and
the
it comes
tit
towards
shot?
you. I don't know. I don't
What's
know
the function of the
Well,
tit shot? I don't get
I
it.
cannot explain that.
It's very stone tape, isn't it? It's kind of it's kind of
Yeah.
Well, it's very
kind of-
sapphire and steel. I like. People always say it's sapphire and steel, but they say it because it's really quite sapphire and steel.
Yeah.
It doesn't really hang together though, those bits, does it? It doesn't really work.
It's all just stuff happening. It's
Yeah.
difficult to describe
Yeah,
the plot
yeah,
because it's just random things taking place.
Yeah.
It's Doctor Who, we've got to have some extraordinary things happen in it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of imagine GNT off shot somewhere, and the director's going, okay, so we'll light his face, we'll get the shot of his face, and GNT's going, no, you've got to get his tits and shit. Come here. Look at them. They're fantastic. They're so saggy.
Star on his tits, man. Come on.
That's what gets the dads in.
Where did you learn
I believe they were the tits of the guy who played Dojin in Snake Dance, by the way.
All right.
I believe it's the same guy.
Same tits.
So GNT had seen him at that point and kind of went,
Doable Barker.
those tits shall return. Oh, God. Anyway, enough tits.
I think I have to say, as much as I lauded this episode, I think those sections are possibly the weakest and oddest and the most anomalous part of it.
Yeah, anomalous. They are anomalous. Yeah,
anomalous,
and again, all it would take was one line. I mean, I think when the Cavaliers are attacking later, the Doctor's, does have a hand wave explanation about it, saying, "Oh, the Malice is able to bring things forward and scare people." I mean, that's the reason for it, isn't it? That's the reason for the old man's tits hanging in midair. They're there to scare you.
Yeah, they scared me.
The Malice is trying to scare you, and that's what it conjures to get to feed on your emotions. Preston Lockwood saggy tits. TM. Action figure.
Fair enough. You don't get to be an intergalactic cosmic villain without some sort of cunning.
Absolutely. And Noah, the Malice is sitting there going,
I am a tender, divine, omnipotent, universal being, and this is how I scare people.
Yeah. Have the Daleks ever thought of hovering old man tits? I don't think they have.
Yeah.
Protect the wasp. Destroying my arms.
He just had a hand.
Yeah, and he didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
He's hanging in midair, mate.
Yeah.
You've got heat.
You think turning in Berkshire into a mine is scary? Get this.
Preston Lockwood's tits, man. Oh, the Malice is evil. Mel has come.
That would strike fear into the heart of any Doctor Who fan.
Blasting through the wall at the end of the episode.
Yeah. Carrot juice!
Go ahead. Time round.
So the Doctor goes back to the church where he meets Will from 1643.
Hey.
Jamie.
No. It's
You've got Ben and Polly in it. Why not?
If we're doing Jamie as well, when the wall cracks away, we've got to have a time-lapse style expose of a painting of the second Doctor.
Yeah.
Jamie's just going to go, look at the size of that crack, Doctor.
There's a lot of things behind it. We're not even at the end of episode 1 yet. There's been a lot of things speculated to be behind this crack. I mean, we all know it's the Malice. But we've had Mel, Paul Daniels as a massive head.
Yeah.
Can I just say about the original? I think that Keith Jane is fantastic.
Yes.
I can't imagine anybody else playing that part apart from him.
No.
I think he's amazing.
No, he's great.
I mean, I've only ever seen him, in fairness, I've only ever seen him in 2 things.
Right.
The Awakening and Stig of the
That's one
Dump.
more
But he was fantastic in both of them.
I was delighted when he turned up in The Awakening at the time because I recognised him as Stig of the Dump.
Yeah.
He's actually surprisingly real in the role as well.
Yeah.
If that's a guy from the middle of the 17th century turning up now, well, you might be a bit like that, actually.
He'd have been
great. He's not sort of all heroic and dynamic and this, that, and the other. He's
very likable, isn't he?
It's an incredible performance. I'm really impressed with his performance in that.
Yeah. It's a good cast all the way through in The Awakening, actually.
Yeah.
There's no one.
He works quite well with the Fifth Doctor as well. I think they have quite good, because the fifth Doctor to me is always if there was ever going to be a realistic portrayal of the Doctor, that's the Fifth Doctor to me is where you go to for that, because he's not dominating the screen all the time. So then when you have him with quite a realistic character like Will Chandler, it seems to work quite well.
They can talk on a level.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine that working with Sixie as well. I mean, he kind of it'd be just slightly more paternalistic towards him, perhaps. But I mean, I can see him bringing the best out of him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He'd be rallying him a bit more. Come along, Will Chandler.
Yeah.
The Doctor heads off with Will. Will tells him about the malice. I think there's pictures of the malice kind of on the church floor. And this is where they find the passage.
Malice and has a panic attack and go, no, I'm not talking about no, it's not happening.
Is this Pease Pottage? Have we decided? Or is it?
Well, it can be. It's unspecified place where Mel's hanging around, like the Wiltshire.
Yeah. Just appears on there.
She likes villages. That's all.
She just likes villages, because they're full of computers.
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously. Yeah.
Bound to be. 986 villages, computers.
Perry's kind of come back as well. I don't know if I mentioned it, but Perry came back. And so the Doctor heads off with Will and leaves her there in the TARDIS. And then this is when they see some lights coming on around the TARDIS, and they're kind of twinkling, aren't they, on the wall? The sort of lights twinkling. So she decides to look for the Doctor, and then gets captured.
Oh, to reverse the polarity.
Just a lot of people running around here. So we learned that Sir George he needs Tegan to be the Queen of the May. Not Tegan. He needs Perry to be the Queen of the May. This is very Perry.
Yeah.
Oh, does that mean she's going to be tied to a pole? She's going to be tied to a pole, isn't she?
She's going to be tied to a pole.
Oh, Atomic Bork alert.
Come in.
Sound the Bork alarm.
Press the Bork button.
Bork.
So, yeah, you
can't explain. What was this? I'm missing a reference here. Please.
Atomic Bork.
I'm new to this country.
The first one we did, the first broadcast one we did was Mummy on the Orient Express with Colin Baker. And we were talking about Perry being tied to a pole, and Paul said, "What's Atomic Bork doing there?" And off it went. Atomic
Bork's a fairly regular occurrence now, particularly the Sixth Doctor stories, it has to be said.
Yeah. Anytime anybody gets tied to a pole, it's always
it's Atomic Bork.
Atomic Bork.
Thank you.
It's all right. Got your back.
Thank you. I'm there now.
Yes.
You just wish you weren't. I realise that. But
he kind of warns Polly off by saying, it could be you, you know.
Let's face it, it's going to be rather different with Perry being the May Queen than Tegan.
Tegan's quite feisty, and you can kind of understand her not wanting to be Queen of the May. Well, Perry just goes along with stuff, really, doesn't she? She's kind of, I'll wear any old shit you want me to.
He's going to be kind of giving her that quite prim dress, that guy, that deputy. But he's going to be looking at what she's wearing and going, "You can wear this or not. You can keep what you're wearing. It's good.
Keep your boob tube on if you like.
With that.
You know, yeah.
It's going to. I think it's going to be without trying to maintain a certain delicacy. I think it's and knowing GNT's approach to Perry's character.
Indeed,
I think it's going to be shot rather differently as well.
Yeah. I like the way you use the word character there. That's good.
To be fair, this is season 23 Perry, who is a bit more kind of
actually allowed clothes. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And of course, all the location work's going to be now shot on videotape and not look half as nice.
Sure, this looks really nice.
And one of the nice things about watching The Awakening, of course, is that we've got the film inserts. They were all scanned in HD and look beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some lovely shots of an English village in there.
It's beautifully shot,
And there's a whole heritage of Doctor Who doing that as well.
Absolutely. It was nice to finally see that, Peter Davison getting that story.
Yeah.
The English village story, which kind of dies off after that. Is this the last one of them?
Perry Vale, that's about the closest.
Yeah. So
there is really. They don't really do that sort of thing in new series either, for that matter.
No, they should.
Was that one Amy's Choice, I think?
Yeah, Amy's Choice. Yeah.
Amy's Choice. It was Amy's Choice, yes.
Yeah.
Amy's Choice, Polly's Crack. Tarot Guards with Mystic Hands.
Saggy Tits.
Saggy Tits, Mystic Hands. Anyway.
Moving swiftly on.
Swiftly on.
Now, final warning, because I'm nice.
Polly's off with the Doctor at this point, isn't she?
Polly's still being held prisoner at this point.
Polly's being held prisoner, right?
Yeah, but she escapes. She kind of escapes at this point, and she meets the Doctor and Will.
Dear God, we're not on episode 1 yet. Fuck
We're
me.
still in episode 1, man. Yeah. I told you there's a lot of plot in this. A lot
This is
happens.
dense.
It is
Yeah.
dense.
Yeah.
It's really dense. So yeah, we got Sir George is pursuing them down this passage now, and they start finding bits of old spaceship.
Yeah.
And this is the bit was written by Eric Saber because it's Tim Klavick.
Yeah. And pterodactyls and stuff.
I quite like that because they don't often do near history references in the JNT era.
Yeah,
If you have a historical reference, it's usually from bloody the Troughton era or something that kids at the time watching it would be going, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being extremely chuffed on broadcast because I've recorded the visitation onto a C90 cassette. And so the line about the Tinclavic mines of Raga was preserved and fresh to me.
Yeah.
So I probably pointed at the telly and went, Tinclavic! as my voice broke.
So yeah, they established that the Malice was on this spaceship that crashed some time ago, and this is where the crack opens up. Obviously, they get back to the church. See, the big wasp face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doctor.
And isn't the Malice great?
It is fantastic.
I love the
It's a good
Malice.
design.
I love the Malice. I really like.
It doesn't do much, but it's a good design.
If I had unlimited time and money and space, I'd build a bloody Malice and have it coming through a wall.
It's a triumph of production.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. It
Both of them,
looks,
it's a lovely design.
yeah,
And nicely executed. It's great.
yeah.
It's always irrevocably connected in my mind as well with the 20th anniversary Radio Times special, where there's a picture of the guy who built it, holding not that one, not the big face, but the other one.
The big face is behind him.
I quite like the fact that it is two parts of the same creature, that these two different manifestations of the thing, so it's not like a physical thing that's in any one place. I quite like that.
And also the fact that watching it today, I noticed the fact that you get it signposted as what it's going to be like with the, there's the carving on the pulpit and there's the carving on the gravestone thing on the floor. It's nicely done. It's very deft. It's a very deft story.
This is the point where that one-eyed man appears again. He kind of goes there at them. And
is this Helen Mirren?
If you like, yeah, why not?
Great, cool.
Put Helen in a one-eyed man costume and gone.
Yeah. Shouldn't do that. She's got range.
Yeah.
Can I just say, sorry, Barry, to interrupt? Isn't that as good as the Malice is? And I love the Malice. At the end of the episode, the cliffhanger is, if I recall correctly, the Fifth Doctor simply stood in front of the Malice, and I think he's really bad like this, and that's it. And then
Polly James screams for a long time.
It's really odd. He's just stood there, and then
he just steps back.
Staggers away.
Yeah. It's like, was that really a cliffhanger?
If he kind of turned around his face and see it off, and it was just a skull. Right. Well, that's something. Something's happening.
Yeah.
I remember at the time, because on that cliffhanger you see one of its eyes, don't you?
Yeah.
And I remember before the second episode came on, thinking that one eye you see was like two sort of triangular eyes.
Yes.
Because it's got like a big pupil that separates it.
Really, if this is season 23, we should just finish on a crash zoom on Colin's face.
It should be a crash zoom on Colin's face surrounded by smoke. Yeah.
Yes.
You're right. There is a close up on one of the eyes, but it's not entirely clear what it is that you're seeing.
Easy to misinterpret. Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
I think more than anything else in this story, the bit where Davison is like pulling the wall apart is what I can imagine Colin doing.
Yeah.
I can imagine him really going for that and really ripping the entire wall down.
Yeah. Unstable.
It's a bit like him smashing it. We're back to Time Lash. It's a bit like him smashing the mirror in Time Lash.
Yeah. What to do? Just hook like quite a pew through it then.
Yes.
He starts talking about psychic projections at this point, and obviously Will runs off, and so the Doctor explains to Polly that the war games are feeding the Malice.
It is great. I mean, there's some great science fiction concepts.
Yeah.
Like Paul was saying about, it not just being the one creature, its identity being in two places at the same time. Absolutely, that's really good. And the fact that whilst it is a science fiction concept, it's still presented as very much a sort of gothic, supernatural style monster. It is wonderful stuff.
And to my mind, it's a much more effective linking of an alien with the image of the devil than the demons is.
Yeah.
Azar looks very much like the devil.
Yeah. I mean, the demons, bless it, it's great, but it's not. Nobody can accuse it of being subtle.
No, and this one is the visitation. The awakening is actually really subtle in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it's one of those episodes that is reaching towards the horror sort of power in some ways. Yeah. And he just, I remember at the time as a child watching it being quite scared by the malice. You know, the depiction of it on the screen was pretty terrifying.
I was quite scared as well, I think. Yeah.
I wasn't by the malice, but I was by all the ghostly, all the apparitions. I think by that point, I was just fascinated by the whole mechanics of television production and was just obsessed with the malice. I remember sculpting a malice face immediately out of fantasy. I mean, like the
way it moves forward as well. That whole wonderfully done.
Yeah.
Barry Newbury's last story. This one,
really?
very, very important in Doctor Who up to this point.
Absolutely. Well, he went out on a high then.
He did. Yeah,
it was a good story to finish on.
Absolutely. And he did the show proud.
This is the Doctor. Present time, 9 time loss. Evil of the legacy of Rassilon. Defender of the laws of time. Protector of Gallifrey.
We get some scenes here with Turlo, I'm sorry to say, but yeah, he's observing the preparations for the May Queen ceremony, and he gets locked up with Andrew Verney, the local historian who is Tegan's grandfather. So Howard. This is all a bit different because we don't have a Turlo or an Andrew Verney.
Well, I think instead we have, and I've got to get this right, Sabulum Glitz. Somehow he's locked up with Howard.
We've already got Ben. We could have Ben in that role, maybe.
Ben should have changed sides by now, I think.
Yeah. Ben took one look at the Doctor and went, "Oh no, I've been wrong."
Yeah.
The Doctor talks him around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets locked up with Howard, the local. I guess Howard is a bit of an archaeologist, and he's kind of doing sort of archaeology type stuff when we see him, isn't he? Howard discovered the malice. He was doing some local research and he told Sir George about it. And Sir George, being a bit of a nutter, decided to wake it up.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how he woke it up, but he woke it up.
Alarm clock,
something like that. And the last time it woke up was during the Civil War.
Breakfast, maybe. I don't know.
That's right. Sort of ring a bell.
Glass of wine.
Room service. Room service.
Yeah.
But just by planning to recreate a war, and the malice, he likes a bit of war. He loves a bit of war. That malice, he loves a bit of that.
Very old.
Bit of that old war, doesn't he?
Gets the malice going, I tell you.
Bit of war.
Bit of war.
Yes, please. So this final battle, they're going to recreate this battle, but it's going to be for real. They're going to actually kill each other.
Yeah.
So the Doctor, he decides he needs to stop this.
Yeah.
He leads Polly back through this passage to Sir George's house, where they basically tell him to leave it. Just stop it.
Leave it.
It's never really sufficiently explained or portrayed in story terms how the malice is whipping everybody up into a situation where they could actually have a fight where they're going to kill each other. I think that's perhaps one of the failings. It's not really.
Yeah, there's a sense that some people are under control,
psychic,
but maybe
psychic bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the middle of a sleepy English village. People could be whipped up into wanting to kill their neighbours, for example, but you've got to show that to some degree. You've got to bring that on in some way.
Isn't Sir George the mayor? So basically, the mayor is nuts. Can you tell us anything about that, Adam?
The water is perfectly safe. We have a wonderful beach. I want everybody to come here and enjoy the sunshine. That's all I say about that.
Okay.
So it's not, that doesn't really, I think that's where the sort of 2-episode format of it doesn't really help particularly. Is that you've got George Hutchinson telling everyone what to do and everything, but it's never really, there's no sense in which anybody else is really swept along particularly.
You need that bit again. It's just 1 or 2 lines saying Sir George is the focus of its power. It's emanating from him.
Yeah.
I think, I mean,
it's infecting everyone is emanating from him, and then you go on with it. Yeah.
Well, actually, I've just remembered that
they got quite a lot of explanation, which has to get crammed in there to kind of fit around everything else.
Yeah.
I was just going to say there is a little bit. It's quite late on where his kind of deputy bloke and Ben start having a go at each other with knives, and that's the only bit you get that kind of implies that the malice is controlling them and making them fight.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of it, but possibly not enough.
What you need is shots of ordinary villagers, not in costume, suddenly getting a bit argy-bargy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But instead,
like a little Monty Python old woman.
I was thinking of what's the Star Trek episode where they all go mad at a certain time of day and start beating the shit out of each other. Instead of the Archons, is that the one?
Yeah.
Where they're just walking down the street and then suddenly, I'm gonna fucking have headache.
I mean, and the shots that we do have of the crowd scenes of the villagers, they're all stood around, and it could just be just like any old English fete on a Sunday,
aren't they? You got to wonder if it's the actual villagers who they just kind of went, no, we're going to use you as extras, just don't tell everything.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very passive. Yeah. So that could have been made clearer. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think because so much turns on it as well.
Yeah, and it would help ramp up the tension too.
Yeah.
You'd see people going more and more red-faced and bonkers.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, right, we haven't got long. You could actually measure how much time you've got in people's behaviour.
Oh, please be quiet.
So we've created a slight plot problem for ourselves because obviously Sir George, he doesn't want to stop the war games and he leaves Ben to kill them.
Yeah.
So this is where Ben changes sides because he's not.
Wait a minute. Didn't Ben have a similar thing when he was actually a companion of the second series?
Macroterra,
Yes, absolutely. There we go. You see,
he's going, I can't stand the confusion in my mind.
He's really gullible, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's got form,
Yeah, he's got absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll have to introduce Howard at this point. Obviously, perhaps Ben just tells him where he is or something. I don't know.
Well, Ben's been leading him along a bit, eh? Maybe Ben's been going, yeah, I'm going along with your war games, while Quiet is going, fucking nut, mate. Off his man's fucking tits, man. Because that's how Ben talks.
Exactly. Yeah.
After the watershed.
After the watershed, yeah.
So he lets him go, basically. The Doctor heads off, and meanwhile Ben's going ahead with the May Queen procession. To create a distraction, so we see him heading off with his horse. The Doctor finds Will, who saw the May Queen get burned the last time.
Yes.
And then the Doctor gets captured, and we get this scene, which it feels like this should be the end of part 3. I mean, we're actually halfway through part 2.
Yeah.
But this feels like a cliffhanger where there's like the Doctor gets caught and they're going to burn the May Queen, and then when Ben turns up, he's got Perry there. He's got a dummy. He's got a dummy in the dress.
Yeah.
And so and then they were
quite impressive how they've managed to make that dummy in in literally minutes. They've managed to make this really good straw dolly.
Maybe Howard had a kind of Perry mannequin around for reasons.
Ooh, that's his stepdaughter.
Like I say, reasons.
That's all kinds of wrong.
Reasons.
Yeah, but this is Howard. This is
it's Howard. Yeah.
Kindly, it's not kindly Mr. Bernie.
No, it's Oily Howard.
Oily Howard.
He's a yuppie.
Yeah.
He's not right already. Mellor's come.
He's thumbing his Filofax frequently.
Yeah.
He's not a nice guy.
He employs Mel as head of his computer industry.
Right.
That's why she's there.
I'm kind of picturing Howard dressed exactly as he is in Planet of Fire, in the kind of jean shorts and no shirt, just in this little English village.
I think that's exactly how he's dressed.
Yeah. He's so rich and powerful. He doesn't, I can hang around here, or I can do a big deal dressed as this. It's 1986. I don't care.
Absolutely. I've got shorts on. I've got a mannequin of my stepdaughter. What?
Yeah.
I'm making deals, baby.
I'm listening to Robert Palmer in my convertible BMW.
Yeah.
You're not stopping me.
Just give me a pair of suspenders and good to go.
Yeah.
So that's the reason there's a mannequin. Good. Moving on.
I don't know where he keeps his Filofax though.
Moving on.
Built a dummy out of his Filofax.
He has a supplement.
Mel brings him his Filofax. Mel's is a supplement.
Right. Okay.
as well as the program. I mean, basically only can afford to employ Mel, so she does everything, but he pretends he has a huge workforce.
They all go to the church. They run to the church. I'm powering on. They run to the church. Perry and Polly are there already.
Liking it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then they go into the TARDIS where there's a tiny mouse. There's a tiny mouse up on the wall.
Yep.
Just twinkling.
Although I still keep seeing it as little naked Paul Daniels, which I don't like. Hoping that's gone by the time I go to bed.
Let's stick with the mouse. Yeah.
Otherwise, I may not sleep.
Infinitely more horrifying.
Infinitely.
I could cope with a sort of cute looking demon, but naked Paul Daniels.
A naked Paul Daniels imp thing clinging to your TARDIS column. You don't want that.
Yeah. In that kind of
vomiting everywhere.
White colour. And he's kind of looking round like that.
Yeah, he's looking at you, man. He's aware. Yeah.
I hate to say this
is not nice. Not nice. It's a horrible. This is one of the most horrible TARDIS scenes in history.
If I'm in the TARDIS at that point, I'm thinking.
I'd be studiously staring at the time rotor. I'm just looking at that. Yeah.
I do like in the original. I do like how the Malice looks at them because it's very it's like a cat when you enter a room, isn't it? And it just kind of looks at you as if to say, like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. What do you want now? You.
Yeah. My house. Yeah.
It is. It's got that kind of ick factor, hasn't it? It's not nice.
It's not your friend.
You can understand why the cast, the characters are quite disturbed by it.
Yeah. And it's in the TARDIS. It's always worrying when things are in the TARDIS.
Yeah. Because it shouldn't happen.
That's your
sanctuary.
Yeah. On the bright side, it's the Malice rather than Preston Lockwood's tits. If that had appeared in the TARDIS, even the Time Rotor wouldn't do it.
I'd be ringing the Black Guardian saying, "Get me out of here! I'll do anything."
While this is going on, they're getting besieged. Sergeant Willow has turned up with some blurg, and they're whacking away outside the TARDIS.
That bit of the TARDIS, is that where Turlo hits him with a massive piece of masonry? And you're thinking, what, are you trying to kill him? What
it would kill him too. That's not some bad lifting there, Turlo. Doesn't look like there's much to him.
No,
but he's been working on the metal.
Him and
heavy solid metal.
Him and Tegan's grandpa, they both go for it and whack these guys over the back.
Yeah. They would kill them in real life.
Yes.
Howard certainly would.
Yeah.
And they have they've just spent the last half hour bashing that wooden door down.
Yeah.
With Turlo saying the immortal line, and I've got it here. What do you like as a battering ram? You can get away with that line
with mostly naked oiled Howard. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
That's why there's a big canister of oil.
The Jay's fluid.
He's been smearing it all over his bare chest.
There's some weird stuff going on in this episode.
Little English villagers, I tell you.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
I'm going to sit on my big canister of Jay's fluid.
We can snip that and put it all over the internet out of context.
Yeah, thank you.
He says.
Well, maybe that's how he escapes. He just rubs his Jay's fluid all over himself and just slips under the door.
Or gets through a crack.
Yeah.
Wow. Howard has talents.
Yeah.
There should be a scene of them just daubing themselves in Jay's fluid.
Oh, like the decon scenes in Enterprise.
Yeah.
Rubbing each other up, boiling each other up, and all that sort of bit. Yeah, good. Sorry, which character is this? It's not Turlo, is it?
Ben, wasn't it? Ben and
It was Ben. Okay,
all right. Right. So Howard's in his tiny shorts with the Jay's fluid.
Yeah.
Are you happy now?
No, happy is not the word, but powering on, surviving. Happy? No, hell no.
And this episode has been brought to you by Jay's Fluid.
Roll your pectoral knees.
So in reality, they've killed them. They've killed those two guys with the massive bits of masonry, which they somehow picked up and clobbered as a weapon.
Yeah, and then Howard just kind of slides into the TARDIS.
All nice and lubricated.
the Malice, understandably, is dying at this point.
Yeah, I would be.
The Malice
You
is
can
not
see
the
point
ugly
blank.
one.
Who
Yeah.
can blame him? I've just had enough by this point, as the Malice.
Yeah.
I didn't spend centuries in space for this.
My tiny avatar that's in the TARDIS. I worked and worked on that, and look what it's fucking turned out like. Paul fucking Daniels.
Yeah.
Not having a good day.
No. Oh.
Oh, look, he's stripping for
Oh, look.
Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
sorry,
I
gentlemen.
think it's Jay's fluid out, does he?
Yeah.
I was going to say the James fluid. Yeah.
You've got me rather warm now. I'm talking about all that. There we are. Sorry, carry on.
It's not the awakening, it's the arousing.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. That's what it's called in 1986, Series 23.
The arousing.
Forget
There's your title. There's your title back.
As titles go, it's a lot better than Terror of the Verboids.
Yes. Yes.
The Arousing. And now on BBC One, the Doctor in an exciting adventure of The Arousing. Sponsored by Jay's Fluid.
Colin Baker in The Arousing. And there's a permanent exhibition at Lonely's house. You know, for kids.
I foolishly thought this couldn't be more disgusting than the Creature from the Pit episode, but
I had no idea it was going to go
Proves
like
me
it's an innocent story.
Yeah.
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 Right, Baz, bring us to a conclusion.
Okay.
Conclude the arousing.
Conclude the arousing. So, yes. Okay. So,
Consummate.
the Malice calls Sir George. He comes in and confronts the Doctor and the others in the church. And I mean, they kind of try and talk him down.
But they can't because he's off his
This is
tip.
the last bit with the
Yeah.
projections, isn't it? With the projection, these anomalous
Yeah.
There's cavaliers
tangential
and shit.
projections.
yeah.
And they don't really achieve a lot. I think they just stand there, don't they, and say, we don't really.
They stand, well, they advance a bit.
Yeah.
You know, they give a bit of menacing.
They decapitated him, guy, don't they? Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, they do decapitate someone.
Yeah,
someone
that's
like
right.
that gets his head
Oh,
cut off.
yeah, one of the guards.
One of
Yeah.
the guards
and
get killed, yeah.
The cast scream, and yeah. You
Then-
don't actually
yeah.
hear it
stronger.
inside.
Sergeant Willow comes back. He turns out not to be dead, and he comes back and he kind of attacks.
Yeah.
And at this point, this is where Will steps in,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and he shoves Sir George into the Malice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
As I say, I love The Awakening. I think it's a really quality episode, but there are always funny things that you notice. And when he shoves Sir George just trips over
Yes.
the kind of ledge and then
Yeah.
falls in front of the Malice,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
that's it.
it's a bit
Yeah.
anticlimactic. This stops
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Malice.
yeah,
How
yeah.
apparently? I'm not quite sure. I'm not following the logic.
He's just going to get up and dust himself off. Okay, you
This should
blackguard
be a
or
short
whatever.
circuit. If Sir George is the avatar of its power,
Yeah.
then pushing him into physical contact with the mallet should cause the short circuit.
Yeah. Okay.
So it all kind of goes woof.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, fair enough. But for all the world, it just looks like the guy just tripped up and then he's just
Yeah.
lying on the floor in front of this stone face.
Yeah.
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 I'm not quite sure what it's achieving. Yeah, but
It should
it
explode
does
it.
achieve something. They all run back to the TARDIS. The church
Blood
collapses.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Tegan finally gets to meet her granddad in this version. I guess it's
Mr.
very
Paul Daniels vomiting on the wall.
Yeah.
vomiting.
Vomiting Jay's fluid.
Yeah.
Oliver Howard.
Howard's just kind of quietly going over and scooping it off the floor and just, applying. Don't mind me.
I'm rich. If I want
I'm
to
rich. I'll do whatever the hell I like.
Yeah. I am richer than you. So if I want to do
And I've got
I will.
malice ectoplasm all over my skin that came from the Paul Daniels homunculus on your wall. Yeah. Didn't see that coming for your day, did you? You did not. And that's why I win.
Use shampoo and conditioner. You fool.
Not me, baby.
I use malice ectoplasm.
Maloplasm. For when malice comes.
Take one plasm into the shower.
I'm just picturing him going to the shower now, and there's malice in there. Just going,
Don't picture him going anywhere anymore. Don't have him going into the shower. He's done enough. This oily toplessness.
yeah, then it stops basically.
Yeah.
It all ends quite suddenly. I mean, with Will still.
Yeah.
He's still in the TARDIS at the end, isn't he, Will?
Yeah.
I remember watching at the time and thinking it'd turn up next week in the Frontios.
I was sure, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like the new companion now.
Yeah, the Doctor makes some comment about dropping him off in 16, whatever.
They're all still there.
Because he's not in Frontios, is he?
No.
Definitely not Frontios. He
No.
should be, though.
He should be.
Yeah.
He should be the rest of the season, really. But he's not.
Oh, jolly good. So, let's end spleen. Is our version better? Our version's wilder.
Yes.
It's a bit of a second Doctor fest, our version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Colin Baker's era was known for that.
You got a whole bunch of 12-year-olds going, what?
Yes. Yes.
For this pair,
You've antagonized your core audience, I would think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the original is probably better because the original is very good.
Yeah, it is.
We made this, what we do quite a lot at the moment, I think, is we kind of get to the end of this however long of madness, and then we go, okay, is this better than the original? And we end up going, no, this is mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
In one way, it is better.
What way is that?
I think the sixth. I think it's right to say the Sixth Doctor would confront the whole concept of what was going on more directly.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
That is definitely true.
He'd have the moral through line, wouldn't he? He'd be there going, no.
Yeah, the Fifth Doctor's approach does seem to be very much sort of, okay, I'm in a situation, I'm not going to complain, I'm just going to deal with it.
Yeah, the Sixth is going to deal with it. He's going to talk about dealing with it while he does so, and make sure everyone sees him dealing with it.
It would be nice to see Ben and Polly again and what they got up to.
It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah.
After
And it does give the opportunity for that more of that drama of the people who are part of the whole war games against those who aren't.
Yeah, they disagree. It's lovely. It's a really nice dynamic for them. It gives them a little more depth than than they ever got a chance to have.
Yeah,
really.
and I agree that we need to see more of the concept of the malice inspiring people to fight. It needs to be like the end of Quatermass in the Pit, really, doesn't it?
Yes, the Wild Hunt.
All the villagers tearing lumps out of each other.
That's where it would work better if it was longer. If it could you could build that up more and make more of a threat of it. I mean, it's so fast. It's kind of it's happening. It's over.
Yeah. And I think the big problem that I have with the story as a whole, I like it as a fan, but I don't think it really works in terms of the appeal to a mainstream audience. Is the Doctor does seem to fix the malice using the power of the TARDIS. If you watch it carefully, and I think it's one of what's interesting as a fan is that it's one of the few times where the Doctor seems to do this. Because I mean, if I was the Doctor and I was turning up somewhere and I had the TARDIS that could do so much, I would work through the TARDIS a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
I think I've got this machine that can do so much. I'm going to use it as a tool, as a weapon to solve all my problems. Never does that. He just goes out and gets caught and ends up in trouble. Whereas in this episode, and again, I like this idea because it fits in with my whole concept of the Fifth Doctor being a more realistic depiction of the character, as it were, if you can think of such a thing. He actually does that. Actually uses he thinks, sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to go into my TARDIS. And I'm going to use its power to confront this cosmic villain, and I'm going to out-technology him. I'm a Time Lord. I've got this machine. Yeah. This is how we sort things, So I do like it, but it doesn't really. If I'm just the average audience looking at it, I'm just looking at a guy punching a load of buttons on a console.
And I suppose doing that horrible thing of going, why don't you just do this every week then?
Exactly. I mean, the average episode with the Daleks. Why doesn't he just sit in the TARDIS and say, right, TARDIS, anti-zap the Dalek battleship here. Let's crash the Dalek battleship or whatever. With the TARDIS. He wouldn't bother. He wouldn't go out there and risk his own life and get caught and what have you, and get tortured and put all his companions in danger. He'd do exactly that method.
That would totally be me if I was actually the Doctor, as in me in real life was the Doctor. Became the Doctor. I had a TARDIS. It was, I'm staying in the TARDIS, mate. I ain't going out there.
It's
I can die out there. The door isn't
so much more powerful than anything else around it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other business then, or shall I do the numbers?
Shall we do the numbers? Yeah, okay.
Righto.
Yeah.
The Doctor is number 1.
Number 1.
Ooh.
That's nice. Bit of William Hartnell. And let's see what horror is to come. Story 106.
That's not Charles the Time Lord, so that's good.
Season 17, isn't it, somewhere?
106.
It's not Creature from the Pit, is it?
It is Creature from the Pit.
Oh, we've had it.
And again, 275.
Right, okay. 275.
This is William Hartnell, the first Doctor.
In.
I love the first Doctor.
Absolutely.
William Hartnell in.
He gives a wonderful model of us as we enter later years of life.
Are you ready for this?
Sorry.
Go on then. Let's have it.
What is it?
William Hartnell in Twice Upon a Time.
Oh!
How's that gonna work?
Generation story. It's the last story.
Dear.
Oh god, yeah, but who's gonna be the other Doctor?
Himself.
The bell. Shit.
It's William Hartnell meets the. It's William Hartnell first Doctor meets the David Bradley first Doctor.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be
Peter
Peter
Cushing.
Cushing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is
Peter Capaldi aged about 5? I don't know.
Well, hang on. That makes this William Hartnell's last story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of it, he is going to turn to Patrick Troughton, whatever happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay. Shit.
Good luck with that one, chaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And on that bombshell,
you're going to spend the whole episode talking about spank bottoms naturally or in a semi-ironic fashion.
Get out the J's fluid, listener. This is
This
is going to be a difficult one.
This episode.
It's going to be a tight squeeze.
It is. Thank you to these people here. Sorry, my brain's just completely fucked with the concept of that episode and that Doctor. Right, yes, put together, Booth. Yes, right, okay. Thank you to our special guest, Mr. Adam Manning, Mayor of Eastleigh.
Woo! Hello, chaps.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh, hello, yes, goodbye.
And thank you, Baz.
Hello, bye-bye.
I've been Rupert Booth. I probably still will be next time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
All done very well.
We'd like to thank Ben Jones for our music. We're on Twitter. I'm at Rupert Booth. Baz is at Baz Time Ram, and Paul is at Paul Ferry 8. We're on Patreon. There's also a website, timeram.com.
Anyway, Roop, you still had a grade. You could have kicked this to the curb.
Yeah, but there's that certain kind of demented madman part of me that kind of goes, fucking bring it!
This must be the nearest you've come to breaking the time ram.
It must be, yeah, because the story is referencing now doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It was the 10th planet.
You are right on the outside edges of your concept here.
Yeah.
This is a new
It's
thing to
referencing
time
itself.
ram. This is a new development.
This
Yeah,
is what we're
it
tuning
is.
in
I
for.
don't know what
It
we're going to
really
do. This
is.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the
Uncharted
what's it called?
territory.
Blinkovich
The
effect.
Blinovich limitation effect.
Yeah.
Yes, that thing.
Yeah.
I know who he meets. He meets his father, Ulysses.
No, it doesn't, because it's not the Paul McGann era.
It's like William Shatner.
It's not William Shatner. Patrick McNee. Yeah, but we haven't got the 10th planet to go on, so what the hell, man?
No.
What the hell?
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.